Really, it's popping. You're popping. Hashtag Ignite Denver. Our next speaker is still afraid of the flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz. And you know what? I showed that to my kids, and I was like, okay, I just got to tell you something. These monkeys are terrifying. They were not fazed at all. They were like, no, I just saw a python eat a baby pig on YouTube. Like, I'm cool. Like, I don't. There's nothing. So some other things you might want to know about Joe Fleenor is, what's that? Okay. Oh, sorry. Thought I heard a thing over there. I get that a lot. I get instructions. They're mostly friendly, not Amityville kind of thing. So it's just like, eat ice cream. You know, maybe you should make a second sandwich. So it's like friendly voices in my head. Other things you should know about Joe Fleenor, things that he thinks are stupid, are people who wear white pointy hats. He has come up with an issue with that, and I think we can all agree. And his favorite smell, and I'm not sure who's going to agree with this, but I like it, is Alan's house. And I don't know who Alan's house is or but Alan has a great waft about him, and it still carries with Joe. And now he's going to tell you an amazing story about when he floated down the Missouri River Oriental Theater at Ignite 30. Please give it up to Mr. Joe Fleenor.
In 1981, I and 4 friends paddled one homemade canoe catamaran and one canoe from Fort Benton, Montana to Sioux City, Iowa. One day we approached an island that was covered with birds. The approach was silent because we had no motor. Just the splish-splash of the paddle, the water going against the canoe. All of a sudden, the island exploded with bird songs as they all took flight. Pelicans filled the air. We could see their beaks. Little birds with their wings flapping hurriedly. Little birds off in the distance. We sat there mesmerized. Sometimes I go back to that moment to escape the frantic now. 8 of us started that trip. Marty went back home after the first day because he had jet lag from a London trip. Marge and Max went home with the cars after 6 days, and that left the rest of us, Tom, George, Brian, Sherry, and me. The nice thing about the canoe catamaran is that you could get up and walk around. Here, Sherry is reading the river map, and off in the distance, you can see the other homemade canoe catamaran that we started the trip with. It rained almost every single day for the first 3 weeks. We were constantly trying to dry everything out. Maybe that's another reason Marty went home. He didn't really enjoy camping in the rain. Didn't seem to bother the rest of us. We took turns paddling the single canoe. Sometimes we paired up, sometimes we did it by ourselves. That way we got some time away from the others. Usually not spending too much time, we would join up for lunch almost every single day. There are 8 reservoirs with 8 dams needed to be portage. At this reservoir, we paddled up to the dam, lifted the canoe catamaran over the dam, all the gear, and slid down the grassy face of the dam. Sometimes people would help us. This is George in the Eye of the Needle Arch. It collapsed in 1997. We explored all along the river and all along the reservoirs. That was the best part for me. You see, we originally had a goal of St. Louis and realized we couldn't make it that far. So we abandoned that and just decided we would end up wherever we ended up. And because of that, there wasn't any frantic hurry. We took our time and enjoyed the trip. We were fully present every moment. Here is an open landscape further down the river. One time, we camped on an island that disappeared as the river rose at 5 o'clock in the morning. Further down the river, there was this table halfway submerged in the river. We could not resist stopping there to have lunch. I remember a vacated house on a bluff, nothing around it for miles. I try to imagine what it was like for the original settlers, the loneliness they must have felt. Sherry moved to the East Coast. We still keep in touch. But Brian, George, Tom, and I, we set up a boys' night out every single week. Brian hasn't been there for a couple of years because he died in his sleep. One night, I decided to make a hot tub in the morning. I got up early before anyone else, filled it up with hot water that I used a giant coffee pot. It was a really nice reprieve from bathing in the river. Sherry was a physical therapist, and because of that, she wanted to exercise all the time. She paddled even when we were sailing. We all thought that was a little nuts. She was also a good barber. Calm, peaceful. The five of us alone in a vast wilderness. We experienced that trip on the most basic terms. I really love these photos, but they can't grasp the reality of that moment. They can't grasp the joy I felt with sweat running down my face in little rivulets while we paddled in 99-degree heat across a glass flat reservoir. Or Tom, off in the distance, practicing his flute and finally getting it. My hope is that you will take 2 months and 10 days. Spend it with those you love. Fully be in the moment. I did it on the Missouri River, and sometimes I find I am still there.